Welcome to A Dose of Feel Good. I'm your host, Whitney Bischoff, and today we are talking about growth in every season. You can see full show notes at doseoffeelgood.my.canva.site. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to Dose of Feel Good. We are at our third episode in our anniversary series, episode 58 in total, which is absolutely crazy, but so fun as well. So our topic is going to be growth in every season. And I'm excited to talk about what this means, what this looks like, and how it can help us to find the good in the world around us. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Dose of Feel Good social media, highly encourage you to do so. I'll be giving away some fun things, and I just want to hear from y'all throughout this week, and obviously moving forward as well. But this week in particular, as we are celebrating 1 year of Dose of Feel Good. So let's dive into what it means to really look at growth in every season of life. And I'm going to talk about a few different ways to look at this, but I think what I really want us to pay attention to is that no matter what season of life we are in, I know I hear this often, that I think we understand that we're all going to face challenges, whether that's we're currently in the midst of a challenge, whether it's something really big, small, somewhere in between, but we will all face those things at some point in our life. And even when we are in those challenging moments, or even if we're not, right? Even if we're at those points in our life where we're like, I am absolutely killing it in every single way. In any of those seasons, there are opportunities for growth and for learning and for encouragement. And sometimes we just have to take the time to really look at what is my personal growth look like in this season, and being intentional about knowing what that growth looks like, how we're applying that moving forward, because I'm definitely someone, like, I don't want to be the same version of myself that I was yesterday or that I was a year ago, and I don't want my tomorrow's version of me to be the same either. And so that's what we're talking about, of really leaning into growth in every season. And I think that starts with not forgetting who you have fought to currently become. That, that fight, whatever that fight looks like for you, because that can be a variety of things. Like, I know what my fight has looked like in the different seasons of my life. Some of it's not pretty, right? And some of it, I have really had to learn and grow from. But it is the walking example of who I am right now. It's like, I can confidently say that I am a walking example of breaking patterns in my life, that I had this cycle in my own life that, like, eventually I had to start saying no, right? Like, those aren't the decisions that I wanted to make anymore. We're also the walking example of chains being broken, that we felt maybe tied to things that didn't actually speak to us. Or, generational cycles. I love hearing overcomer stories of people who have experienced so much, or their families have experienced so much, and they were the ones that made a different choice. And that's the growth in those seasons, to reach their full potential. But sometimes we lose sight of that. So we can't forget those battles that we fought to become the current versions of ourselves. And I think also knowing that, like, and connecting the dots, that takes courage and it takes growth to persevere through that in the middle of those seasons. You know, when we're talking about breaking patterns and chains and cycles, that's some big, powerful stuff that we're doing in those seasons that are hard or still or stagnant or broken. It takes courage and growth to continue to show up and fight those battles. But there is so much growth that we are going through in those seasons that are building us up to arrive to a place where we're not going to feel the need to apologize for the new energy that we bring, the presence that only we can bring to the table. It took me a while to really recognize what that actually meant in practice, right? Like when we are really in the midst of, changing those stories or changing what that season maybe looks like for us, we are going to look like a whole new version of ourselves. And so we might apologize if the people in our life are accustomed to a different version, and all of a sudden we have this energy and this light, and it takes a second to not feel like we have to apologize for who we are and what we bring to that space. Because I know, at least for myself, as I am like, nope, that inner diva coming out, that like, this is the life that I deserve, that I have fought for, that I have grown to become. And I'm not going to settle for less. I'm not going to settle for less in my life. I'm not going to give myself less. It's because those seasons taught me how valuable I am and what I bring to the table. And that's in every aspect of my life, whether that's friendships, other relationships with family, workplaces. I also know, like, life is incredibly short, and I don't want to be in spaces that don't recognize the value that I bring to the table. And for me, like, that's truly the growth that I have experienced in every season of my life, that I had to fought to get there, though. And I feel like so many people, right, like, we're fighting those battles to get there. But there's also growth that we experience that makes us our vibrant self at the end of the day. And the more that we can kind of connect those dots and help us kind of see, even on a daily, weekly level, of like, what is this season teaching me and what am I growing to become, can be a really cool opportunity to find those feel-good moments in every season. And I think a lot of people can relate to this, but I think for me, this is really in particular for, I'm just going to title like heartbreak seasons. And that can be relationships. I mean, I got married young, so talking about like romantic heartbreak, I often say this when I'm doing like public speaking gigs of like, I remember in high school the heartbreak that I was like, this is the end of the world. I'm never going to find love ever again. And then I did marry my high school sweetheart. We met our senior year. It was beautiful. Anyways, but I think a lot of people can relate to not just that heartbreak, but I think of also like friendships in my life that, oftentimes you feel like you can trust people, or, there isn't just this added element that maybe sometimes you have in romantic relationships, whatever that looks like. But anyways, I think I can relate to what heartbreak looks like, because I think in so many relationships, we want to experience being given the benefit of the doubt. And when we don't get that, or when there's a condition to our presence in their life, like there is this true heartbreak of feeling like I wasn't enough for that person, of just being me and knowing that I'm flawed as a human, right? That like I'm going to make mistakes. Like, let's communicate, let's talk this out. But that there's almost a condition, like if you don't meet XYZ of how I perceive you to be, or the version of you that I need you to be, then then the condition is there, right? Like I don't just want you for you, I want you for the version that I've created for you. And that can be heartbreaking, again, whether that's romantic, friendships, family, like whatever that looks like. And I think particularly for me, like that heartbreak took a lot in those seasons of my life to overcome, because, you know, I lost my parents at a young age. I haven't had a lot of friendships that have stuck around long term. A lot of my friends, family, whoever, like it hasn't been long term, right? So when you experience that, I feel like so much has been truly, like it has felt conditional. And so it's taken a lot of intention and growth in those seasons of my life to not take it personally, and to know that, you know, I am learning what I want to find in the people that I'm investing in. But also, like, I need people who are going to support me for me and the humanness that I bring to the table, right? That like there isn't a perfect version of me, because I sometimes put on that mask, like I have it all together. I don't. And so I think the more that I've learned throughout all of those different seasons of breaking cycles, of understanding what I want in my life. It's through all of those different pieces that I have finally gotten to a point where that growth in each season of my life has gotten me to this most healed version, I feel like, that I am now. And it doesn't mean that I have it all together now. It just means that I've been able to connect those dots of what each of those lessons and each of, honestly, those heartbreaks have taught me. And I think there's some real impact to this, is that when we realize that we're in this constant state of evolving, it allows for us to reflect and almost give gratitude even in the midst of the pain, that it makes all of those different seasons worth it in the long run. Even those really, really tough things, like I say all the time, like I would never want to experience a lot of those things ever again. But I also don't take them for granted, because I wouldn't be able to be the best version of myself now if I wasn't able to grow during those seasons. And I think if we only knew what kind of growth was in front of us, I think we would actually be running towards those moments rather than being fearful of what that looks like for us. Even the ones that we feel like are going to break us down, which can be absolutely terrifying, that like no one wants to yearn for those moments that hurt us. But at the same time, like if we know that I'm going to learn something from that, there's going to be a growth opportunity, a part of that. So I'm going to run towards those moments, whether it is a positive, whether it's going to hurt me, whatever it's going to look like. If the future version of me, or if there's going to be growth at the end of that, I want to run towards it. And I think knowing that that growth is a testament to the power that we bring to the world and our ability to finally connect the dots for ourselves and passionately hold ourselves to the standards that we deserve. And we won't know what that looks like until we experience the hardship as well. And so it's a balance. It always is. So what is our call to action? How do we do that? How do we run towards the things that we know are going to hurt us and still find the growth opportunities amongst that? So I think first, identify the moments of life-changing growth that you've already had and how it's woven into your identity. So again, knowing that, you've had so many opportunities to grow amidst everything that you've experienced, and how has that made you who you are? Honestly, in some of the best ways, even in the hardest moments. So being able to identify what that actually looks like, and kind of aligning with that, being able to reflect maybe on those messy or heartbreaking moments and give space for gratitude, or even amongst or as those things are happening, give space for gratitude, knowing that there is going to be growth that is coming out of that. And when we approach those moments with gratitude, even when they're hard, it shifts that perspective. And we start to connect those dots even as it's happening. The last piece, as we are growing in those seasons, is set your standard for what you bring to the table just as you are, and keep that front and center. Don't settle for less, because you deserve people in your life who accept you just as you are without those conditions. And I think that's the growth that we all aim for. And so that's what I'm going to leave you with is, you are enough just as you are here in this moment. And you deserve people around you who recognize you for that. So, with that, let's continue to grow. Let's continue to run towards those seasons of our life, and share those. We can't grow and be better unless we are sharing along the way as well. And with that wraps up our episode this week. So, like I said, if you have not checked out our social media, make sure to do that, and get yourself entered for some of our giveaways for our 1-year anniversary. Otherwise, thank you for joining me for the journey over the last year, and we are nowhere near done yet. So if there are episodes or topics or anything that you would like to hear, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out, share these episodes, your favorite episode, with a handful of people this week to help celebrate. With that, have a great week, and I hope you get out and enjoy some sunshine.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.